The Square Ball Podcast.
We are underway. Welcome to the show. Dan here with Michael and Moscow on the show that's brought to you in association with
Levi Solicitors.
If you had to pick any legal firm in the West Yorkshire area, but also who do work across the whole country, I think they're very good at wills, probate and conveyancing.
Mm-hmm.
Some other stuff for you and your business. I mean, like property disputes, employment matters. If you had to just think of one legal firm, what's the first one that just pops into your head, Michael?
Probably Bailey, Peacock and Farrell.
Right, yeah. He did commit a crime to football.
Levi Solicitors.
Yeah, Bailey, Peacock, Farrell did commit a crime against football, didn't he, this week?
You added it to your compilation, Moscow?
I mean, it's too long. There's feature films with shorter running lengths.
Yes, 10% discount on your legal fees. levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball. New issue of the mag is coming out as well at the weekend. We've got bits on peacocks, strikers who wear 7. Tell me about cougars, Moscow. I bet you're into cougars.
Rob's written about the Cougars, Leeds Cougars, who were, the 49ers have pitched up.
That's the second time I've tried to make you joke about the Cougars, and the second time you have just ignored it.
Being all about
third time
bringing American football to Leeds. There was a little mention of them because the Leeds Cougars were the gridiron team of Leeds in the late 80s, early 90s. Once told to get the fuck off the pitch at Elland Road by one Vinnie Jones. Mm-hmm. They weren't even playing at that time. They were just having what did they do? They kick it. Sometimes, no, I think they were throwing it. They were either throwing the ball a long way or kicking it a long way.
One of the two.
Before a game, and then when the players were going to warm up, Vinnie Jones invited them to leave the pitch with a degree of haste. But yeah, there were. Rob has written about them and spoken to the former coach who comes from the same sort of part of Wisconsin as a certain Jesse Marsh, but it seems like a much nicer guy, and some of the former players. And about how...
Who's your favourite former Cougars player?
It seems like the whole story with
it's not biting today.
Leeds Cougars is like any sports team in Leeds. They could have and should have and maybe would have done a lot better than they did if only maybe they weren't from Leeds.
Right.
That would have helped. So it's a really good read. And
so
beautiful artwork.
Are we the baddies? Is that what we're getting
Just
at?
the city in general just makes things difficult for people. Beautiful artwork as well by Joe Gamble, who's been doing great stuff for the magazine for years. And so, just read all that. It'll be good.
On sale at Elland Road against Watford. You can buy it at thesquareball.net as well.
You can buy it from me.
Are you selling it?
I'll be there.
Personally?
By the tunnel.
Good lad.
Come and get it. Card as well as cash.
Yeah. And we sell it down the east side of the stadium, don't we? So it's like from the statue, east stand, Lowfields gates, all that kind of jazz,
Yeah, the west stand side is just complicated.
You have your flag hanging out the right side of the back of your jeans, don't you, to represent the east side?
Mm-hmm. That is true.
That
is the most gangster of the three of us.
Come see me for some hand signals.
And if you're a TSB Plus member as well, you can read the digital version of that and all the articles that are in the mag online as part of your subscription, thesquareball.net/plus for that. Let's get into it. The hot chat then, off the back of the international break and off the back of the game against Hull. We're going to be recording with Phil after this, so we'll do more of a debrief with Phil on that. So off the back of the match ball, what are your thoughts quickly, Moscow, on that 0-0?
Should have won.
Yep.
Could have won.
Red card?
No. That referee's a joke.
Steve Martin, well, he was a comedian. Hey?
Yeah, I didn't find it very funny. Didn't do any, didn't think much of his patter. But
What do you think of his muscles?
Yeah, he's quite strong, wasn't he? It was I think the thing that stood out to me most about Joe Roden versus Aaron Connolly was it was almost like the battle of the doppelgangers, and I think that might have been why there was so much enmity between them, the sleeve tattoos and the kind of the highlighted hair. I think they took against each other on sight, and so there was always going to be some kind of trouble. And Rodon was tempted in by his mirror.
Did you enjoy Adama Traore's miss?
Yeah, it was great. A lot better than it going in, and and all his fault. The comparison with obviously Jorginho, Rutter did a big old miss as well, but I sort of think that the goalkeeper did really well on that one. That was a really good save because Rutter's done everything right, where he's kind of opened his body out, given him the eyes, and sort of disguised where he's going to put it. But the goalkeeper he got it, didn't he? And so realised if he stuck a foot out that way, he'd do it. So a bit annoying that that didn't go in. But then Traore, all he really had to do was tap it in.
Mm-hmm. It was, yes.
He kicked it too hard. He may have been
Has he been listening too much to you?
Maybe too much to me.
Yeah.
Sometimes when there's no goalkeeper and there's just no need to kick it hard.
Yeah.
Just did absolutely
nudge it.
smack it off the post when a tap would have just sent it rolling in.
A little side foot is all that needed.
It's one of those things, maybe, I guess, as a striker, you might find yourself thinking about the next move. Where shall I go and celebrate this one when it goes in? Too long to think about it, and then you F it up. We got a bit of feedback, actually, from members just very quickly. TSB Plus members leave us feedback on the various games. And I think Paul the White Goth just summed it up quite well. How did we not win with all our chances?
And how did we not lose with Hull's open net chance?
Indeed.
Was there much praise for the Hull City commentary?
Yes, yeah, overwhelming. We were flooded with.
I've not caught. Maybe you discussed that on the match ball last night. I've not had a chance to catch up on that yet since
We
the
did talk,
few hours. Yeah, he was funny, wasn't he? I thought it was good when he was quiet.
Described as Wedge as an absolute abomination of a commentator.
Meselier?
Well, he kept.
Messela?
It was. He had. It was like Priscilla at one point.
Yeah,
and then it
Priscilla.
was like Cassia at certain points.
And then
as well.
Strooch and Ganonto.
Yeah, Ganonto.
Kernonto.
He was struggling. There was a lot of streak. I think the second.
Strooch.
Well, he changed it at
Did
one
he?
point. It started off
Screech.
and then after
Saved
a while
by the Bell.
he went more of a streak thing. Yeah, so that added an extra element. I quite liked it when he just went quiet.
I don't think that was necessarily deliberate, although I did say to you, didn't I, at the time, like I had visions of somebody like at iFollow headquarters going, do you know what? He's not having a good day. Let's just turn him off. He'll never know. Put it down to Gremlins or whatever in the system.
And Gremlins in the stadium, eh? Because of Hull fans.
Yes, yeah.
Tigers.
Tigers.
Yeah. That's how they'd like to be known.
Tiger mutants from Humberside. Anyway, so just wrapping up the news here on the weekly show from the last week, and away from the immediate football action, we've got Jed Spence damaging his knee. Have we got some medical breakdown on this? A very exciting update from you, I presume, Michael. Obviously, Firpo still out injuries wise. Bamford back in training. Under 21s, 17s. Do we have 17s? I thought we had under 18s.
Do now.
Oh.
They're a special group.
And the women were back to winning ways as well, or continuing winning ways, sorry, with a late goal from Jess Russo, which puts them joint top, which we've said before in that division, is well hard because there's only 12 teams in it, one promotion place, and it feels like a monumental slog to try and get out of that sort of level and start climbing the pyramid again.
I feel like you've done all the news then, really quickly.
Well, what we can do is talk about the things that I've just highlighted there in a little bit more depth if you want. That's...
It was like a horse racing commentator just rattling through it.
And it's over.
Well, I'll come back to me, I suppose, now for the medical stuff about Jed Spence.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Who's
So
damaged his lateral collateral ligament, which is
lateral collateral.
it's lateral and collateral.
Right.
It's on the.
Does he think he's Dr. Zeus, or is that who's treating him?
Well, it's on the outer side of his knee. It runs from the top, sort of the top part of the fibula, which is the bone of the outside of the lower leg, to the outside part of the lower thigh bone. And it just
Where
helps
did you copy this from?
Just helps to keep
Is it
the
Wikipedia?
outer side of your knee joint stable.
Right.
And that's what he's damaged, you see.
How did he damage it?
Collaterally.
Why did he damage
Is
it?
it collateral damage?
It was. Let's say it was Luke Ayling or Jamie Shackleton.
Sam Byram?
Also Byron.
We were mentioning things that are in the new magazine. Gaetano Berardi is obviously our new columnist, and he does talk about in the new issue how Luke Ayling might deal with Jed Spence. He didn't recommend nailing him in training. He said he was more like Luke is a mature player who will understand the situation, that people take people's places and will. But at the moment, Berardi's assessment was Luke deserves to have the shirt 'cause he's a very good footballer. He says he's a great guy and he won't cause any problems. And now you're saying,
No, I'm saying he's going around decking people.
and if it's not him, it's Sam Byram. Can't really matter. Like, it would be a bit of if Byram was to like try and take out one of his teammates and try, and it's a big risk given the state of his legs. You wouldn't chance it. I always picture Sam Byram, because Farker was saying that he's not quite ready to play full 90 minutes, so he's on sort of easing him into it. He sort of trains in a cotton wool bodysuit.
In an oxygen tank, presumably.
And let's face it, the person most likely to have injured him is probably Liam Cooper.
Just thought he was good last night.
Just because of his slightly his chaotic ways.
He was great. He was funny last night. It was. He looked like somebody had like thrown a surprise exam at him. Like he just turned up at school in the morning and it's like, what are we doing today? It's that test that we told you about. Test? What test? He'd just forgotten how to do it, hadn't he?
Tackle at the end was great.
The tackle at the end was brilliant, and that's all it was. You think just a bit of...
Was it as good as his tackle?
Rustiness?
His attempted tackle with his head on the floor?
That I always get flashbacks to the game under Thomas Christensen at Cardiff after which he blamed everything on, well, Matches Click never played for us again almost. When it was like, it's a similar, he always seems to, something about Liam Cooper near a wing just sends him absolutely insane and always has. Like, because when it was that mistake or that red card at Cardiff, was just being drawn out into a fullback position and just deciding to kick the player in the chest. It was like, I don't know what to do here. I'm just going to kick his head off. And then this time he was like trying to have his own head kicked off or attempt a diving header while already on the ground from a distance of about 10 feet. So he needs to just stay... Well, I suppose he got quite close to Meslier and almost put the ball in there, tried to let the ball roll in the back of the net. Maybe just, I don't know, he'll get the hang of it again. It's fine.
Billy? Let's hope so. Michael, question for you. Of all the knee ligaments, what's your favourite?
Oh, it's got to be the anterior cruciate.
Why?
It's just the best one, isn't it?
Why?
Well, because you're going to want to be anterior rather than posterior, aren't you?
Yeah, that sounds like front rather than back.
Exactly.
And cruciate sounds like crucial, doesn't it? Which sounds quite important.
The ACL is the one that possibly was the difference between England winning and not winning the Women's World Cup. Because every player just snapped their ACL. And every time they did it, it looked quite painful. So I'm intrigued in you favouring.
Thanks, Pfizer.
The one you never hear about is the medial collateral ligament, do you?
I'd never heard of the lateral collateral.
No.
I have to say.
That does sound like a made-up thing.
But I did like the way it flowed as a phrase.
It's very nice, isn't it?
What's Firpo injured with still? Does anyone remember?
No, I don't know if they do.
Because I've read that he's injured.
It's like one of those
I know
things
Farker said he was still injured, but I sort of thought, what's he injured with?
We don't know. It's just the passing of time, isn't it? You kind of forget. It's like, like the stories have not been passed down the generations.
He did the thing in pre-season that he did last pre-season and probably the pre-season before of turning up to the first friendly, looking decent, and then not appearing for the next one with something. At least with Pat Bamford, we saw him pull his hamstring while getting kicked in the head. So we kind of know what the deal was there.
There's evidence.
Yeah, Firpo, never really sure. I'm sure it was mentioned at some point that it might have been a knee thing or I don't know. But he just seems fairly broken. But what's all the belief that Farker says he can be the best fullback in the Championship? Which is probably what Barcelona was saying when they bought him back in the day.
Yeah, we need to farm him out of the Championship.
Everybody was predicting that sort of level of success for him from a very early age. But maybe we'll get to see that at some point.
If he isn't one of the best left backs in the Championship, bigger questions need to be asked. If he cannot perform at this level,
what question would you ask?
Why? That's in big capital letters, though. It'd been a really big font.
It's the question you would ask is which one of you League One clubs would like to give him a go next? And then we just kind of go down until we find... Well, I don't know, he could come back and tear it all up, couldn't he? It's not that difficult a division, is it? I know we're not top of it yet.
And Bamford back in training, as mentioned before, which is good news because obviously we saw Joel Pirro finished last night at Hull.
Yeah, he's done,
contributed nothing. No, off the back of the goals at Millwall. It's a shame to see his career going this way, but what can you do?
You want a 1-2 striker, but it doesn't mean only turn up 1-2.
Right.
For Christ's sake, at least try in some games.
He has scored 3 and 4.
All right, fine. Keep doing that for the rest of the season, I suppose.
I ended up doing the maths on that for some reason because I saw the criticism he was getting, and he didn't really do much. But if he does keep up 3 and 4, then he'll get another 29 goals, which would probably be okay. And if he keeps scoring in every other game, then I didn't do that, but that's for like another 22. So either of those would be fine. I don't know.
Just going back to the mag, is he the first striker we've had at 7 since Kemar Roof? Because we had Pervader with the 7 shirt for a bit, didn't we? Which always felt wrong to me.
Possibly. In fact, I think so. Because I've done 5 players who wore number 7, which is not exhaustive. Strikers who wore 7. 'Cause it's not a real centre forward number, is it? And I found like my favourite thing in it possibly is
Cantona doesn't feature, by the way.
No, I couldn't fit them all in because I was doing 5, and he didn't do out for us really, did he? And then retired in November 1992. Robbie Keane predictably told Spurs fans, he said at Spurs that he wore 7 because he was now was it 7 or 10? No, he loved 10 because he grew up idolising Roberto Baggio and Glenn Hoddle from memory. And then when he got to Liverpool and put 7 on, he's like, oh yeah, because I loved, I used to wear 10 because I loved John Barnes, and now I'm going to wear 7 because I love Kenny Dalglish. So it was all very kind of, there's basically not a number he didn't love. And there was even, because he wore 8 briefly at Wolves, he was like, oh yeah, I love growing up wearing 8, all my dreams. It's like,
My boyhood
Robbie,
club.
It's fine.
Just pick a story and stick to it.
Yeah, just say you like the number. And you can like more than one number. It's okay, but it's, yeah.
What's your favourite number, Michael?
8.
Why?
I don't know. Rod Wallace.
Lucky in the Far East is 8, isn't it?
Is it? Oh yeah, of course it is all 888 and all that. I think Rod Wallace was probably my first favourite Leeds player, so it always kind of stuck with me from that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that. I prefer even numbers to it. It's nice. It's a nice shape.
Yeah, it is. No, you're right. You're right. You do mention Tommy Wright as well for older fans who remember the 1980s, who ended up as Barnsley coach and also ended up getting.
You could just say fans who remember the 1980s. There's no reason to upset anybody.
And got convicted of taking bribes.
Yeah, it's
which
funny.
is unfortunate.
It was part of the same, and it gets forgotten a little bit, or I had forgotten, shouldn't generalise, but the investigation that ended up with Tommy Wright being convicted of taking bribes to do favours for agents was also the one. Cellino was involved because he was trying to, he was offering like part ownership of players to agents, and then Leeds would sign them, and then they would get cuts of transfer fees.
Is that not illegal under FIFA rules?
Yeah, it was a pretty bad thing to do, and it was the same investigation that also got Sam Allardyce.
Or maybe UEFA rules, either way.
Jimmy Hasselbank was also involved in this, so it was very, very Leeds, apart from Sam Allardyce as England manager. It was the whole pint of wine investigation.
Thankfully, he's never going to manage us.
Well, it must have been, I think, looking back, it was written from that moment that he one day would, as soon as to complete the set, he had to do it at some point. So at least that element of the universe's sort of trajectory from beginning to end has been satisfied.
Yeah, I was going to say
a little bit closer to a resolution.
They'll start reporting on it as it'll be former England and Leeds United manager Sam Allardyce when they're talking about it in future, because that's the way it goes.
Well, he basically is now, isn't he? Because every podcast appearance he keeps doing tends to be him still talking about what happened at Leeds last season and how we're doing this season. And
would it have been better, Moscow, in your opinion, to have gone down with no manager in the last 4 games?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Just to...
It'd have been cheaper.
Yeah.
Yes, it would.
Mm-hmm. Could have given me £500,000 and I'd have done it.
We had enough.
We could have taken us down. I just want to stress.
God, yeah, but you'd have had a lovely life. You'd had a nice house now, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Just £500,000.
Just pay off my mortgage. Yeah.
Looking back.
Go on holiday.
It's a bit of a tangent, but what would have been the downside of just giving it Stuart Dallas till the end of the season? I know he's not a UEFA licensed coach, but maybe him and... Was there anyone else?
Scoobs.
Forshaw was...
Give it back to Scoobs.
Back to Scoobs probably would have worked, because we liked Scoobs, and it was really just panicking about the Everton game that cost him. Could Scoobs have kept us up if we just stuck with him instead of going for Gracia?
We'd have gone down.
I think we were fated to go down a long, long time. I think we were fated to go down the previous summer.
But in that instance, I would have more faith in Stuart Dallas and Skubala putting out a better team against Spurs than Sam Allardyce did for what's a quarter of £500,000. In 4 games, wasn't it? For £125,000 in a game we had to win to pick fucking 20 defenders.
That's an absolutely monster wage, isn't it? It's £125,000 a week.
That's decent.
That's
with
crazy,
with a potential bonus as well.
Yeah.
Which obviously was absolutely nowhere near being achieved.
Enjoy your money.
It's the one upside of Pat Bamford missing that chance against Leicester, is that Sam Allardyce will forever be like, that was the difference for him between £2.5 million was Bamford putting that in.
That's actually circled us back to how we got going to this point on strikers, wasn't it?
I was wrong. Sorry, Leicester was what got Sam Allardyce the job, because that basically led to Gracia getting sacked. I have my time for him. It's the penalty miss against Newcastle that I'm thinking of. That's the moment that Sam Allardyce will always look back and go, that boy.
Anyway.
Who's now miraculously getting fit again. Now we've got a striker who scores goals.
Let's talk about the 21s. They won 3-2 against Colchester in the Premier League Cup. Now, call me silly. We're not in the Premier League. I don't think Colchester are in the Premier League. Why are we entering the Premier League Cup?
The under 21s level, the Premier League is now one big thing, isn't it? And then I think other people play in it. I don't know. I'll have a look. I'll have a look properly.
Is it
when
like
we get
a
further in it.
wild card places, invitationals, that kind of thing?
It was a wild game against Colchester, I'll tell you that much.
It did look like it as well.
4 goals in the first 13 minutes. You don't see that very often. And we won anyway. McGurk scored again.
We brought on the experience of McGurk and Charlie Allen at half-time to calm things down, get us a winner. And it's probably, you need to maybe think about what you're going to do once people are describing you as an experienced under-21 player. Although, actually, it didn't do Milner any harm. Didn't he play in the under-21s until he was about 26?
For England, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he was playing in the Premier League at 16.
Yeah, exactly. It was great. So he'd been playing for, so it was more like he was 22, but he had the, so he was still eligible, but he had the record for under-21s appearances. And then it also, he won Young Player of the Year in like his 6th season of Premier League football. What a great guy.
Talking of under-17s, we can neatly segue into that, which, again, doesn't have a league because there's an under-18s league, is that correct? But there is an under-17s cup. Make your minds up.
We're good at, I think we should keep playing this one anyway because we're good at it.
Are we going to chuck... We talked before about putting Eddie in charge and playing the kids. Should we play these kids?
Play these kids, course.
Because they beat Sunderland 9-1.
And it means you can have another Gray in the team.
Harry Gray scored twice in that game, yeah.
I think it was his debut at that level as well. Came off the bench, scored twice apparently. And you could have Piri and Pirro as your strike force,
And
which would be great.
Will we be putting Jason Blunt in charge? Is he in charge of... Who is it at this? It's one of the kind of mid-90s.
It's not Paul Shepherd.
No, it's not Paul Shepherd.
No, it's not, is it?
No.
He's tending to his flock in a different manner. Because Jason Blunt at one point was at Mousehole with all the David Haig connections and the Leeds connections. He was there for a bit, but I can't remember if he's come back and is involved in our youth teams. And I can tell Michael is Googling it. I'm Googling it. Leeds Academy managers. Is it Jason Blunt? No,
I'm sure he's left, doesn't he?
If only
I had the answer, but I'm just not telling you. I'm just making you work for it.
Tell us.
I don't know. I don't know, do I? What I will say is Lewis Piri is the one that came in from... he's the child we trafficked from Aberdeen, isn't he, over the summer. And he's got a hat-trick, and he's supposed to be dead good because he's got absolutely loads of goals north of the border in the Granite City.
The first team, unfortunately, is going probably too well to get Eddie Gray and play the kids.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking of Scott Gardner, who never... was he a... Yes,
yeah, he was.
He was a youth player.
From Benelux, no less.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, it's all coming back to me now. Yeah, and he's much younger than Jason Blunt. 1 appearance for Leeds, more than we've ever done. Do you remember the game? Little Scott Gardner quiz?
I'm going to say it's like Blackwell era or Wise, maybe that sort of time.
Scott Gardner
Yeah.
has played?
Yeah.
No, he hasn't.
He has.
That's made up.
No, I do remember. He played. I'm sure he played in like a cup game and actually looked all right. And people were like, "Oh, we should give him a chance,"
Right?
Because he was a right back, and we probably had Armando Sarr or someone playing there.
I'm going to say a League Cup game against Accrington Stanley.
It's the sort of the northwest, but you're too far up of it.
Crewe?
Right, yeah, near there.
Nantwich?
Think Joy Division. Think Carlton Palmer.
Stockport?
No. Think Robbie Savage. I'm sure they're all in charge of this place now. Aren't they?
Macclesfield.
Yes, there we go. Hasn't Robbie Savage bought it?
Yeah, I think he might have done.
What did that sound like when he did the negotiations? Thanks.
Carlton Palmer might have been a red herring, I'm sorry.
I think we've peaked. Just tell us what the game was. Macclesfield, was it?
Yeah, it was 14th of August 2007, so the end of still in the middle of quite a stressful summer. A 1-0 win over Macclesfield Town in the League Cup, and whatever people were saying about him looking decent, a few months later he went on loan to Farsley Celtic. I suppose there wasn't such a big gap between us and Farsley Celtic at that point. And then he played in the 2-1 win over Gillingham in May. So he played in the league as well. So he played twice. Wikipedia's a mess, isn't it?
We should start our own. Definitely start our own. Leedsopedia.
Yeah. So that's good. So he's... I mean, we don't even know if he was involved in that 9-1 game. He's the under-18s manager. He could have been someone else. And there is another one. Well, there's an under-18s coach called Rob Etherington, who I don't know anything about.
He sounds like a rugby league player. Michael, you've got a quiz for us just while we're doing quizzes. There's a quiz on the member show this week. What's it about?
Watford managers.
Oh, why?
Because playing Watford, aren't we?
Fantastic. What a good reason.
There you go. And they're probably on the verge of sacking one. I've no idea. Do you know who the manager is?
Javi Gracia.
No.
Watford's manager. Now.
I do know.
I
It's
think
Valerian Ismail, isn't it?
It is. For now. For now is what you should say, not now.
Yes.
For now.
Well, if you want the Watford preview as well, we'll be doing that with Phil on the show that's coming on Friday as well. So looking forward to that. Another clean sheet and another 3 points for Leeds.
The Square Ball Podcast.